might keep changing your direction. Sometimes the trials of life can knock you to the floor. So hold your head up high, God will lead and guide you. He won't leave you, so please hold on and never give up, never give in. You're closer to the top.
Welcome to My Journey with Paula G, where we are juggling this journey called life while walking in the gifts and talents that God has given us. I appreciate you all for joining us. If this is your first time on the journey, welcome. We are so glad that you have tuned in. If you're returning, welcome back, and we are so glad that you continue with us on this journey, whether you are listening to My Journey with Paula G, whether you are watching My Journey with Paula G. We appreciate each and every one of you. You all know I say it all the time, that time is precious. It is the one thing that you cannot get back. So for you all to think it not robbery to spend this time with us is truly, truly appreciated. And we thank each and every one of you. We want to thank our underwriters as well, because without them, this would not be possible. So we are so appreciative of our underwriters here on the journey. And if you're interested in being an underwriter for My Journey with Paula G, you can email jerryvoicelive@gmail.com or paula@paulagvoice.com for more information. Also, I invite you to keep up with me on the journey, Paula G Voice, across all social media platforms, to include my website. There you can find inspiration, motivation. You can check out my book. This is a journey of transition from who I was to who I am today. And it's a journey that can inspire each and every one of you as well. Well, before we speak to our guest today, I want to share something with you all. You know, I have a friend that says, I am because I say I am. And I always tell you all that words have power. The words that we speak, they permeate, they vibrate through our being. And we have to be mindful what it is that we speak in ourselves and over ourselves and through ourselves. God has made each and every one of us fearfully and wonderfully made. He has given each and every one of us a gift or gifts that we are to utilize on this journey called life. So I encourage each and every one of you. You are because you say you are. If you are an artist, if you are a musician, if you are a CEO, you are because you say you are. Speak it, write the vision, make it plain, and embrace your journey of who it is that you are. I hope that word encouraged you today. It is time for our guest. I'm so excited to have this gentleman with us. He's a pastor. He's a musician, he's a husband, he's a father, he's an actor, he's a casting director, he is a man of many talents, he is the suit guy, he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Greg Lockett. Welcome to the journey, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, Paula.
You know, every time that I have a guest on the show, I'm so blessed by their journeys and what they share, and our audience, the feedback that we get. We're so incredibly blessed by how they share and how they encourage all of our audience members. And I'd like for you to share with the audience that, you know, this show is about juggling this journey called life while we're walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given us. Share with us, in a former life, you were in the corporate world. And I want you to share with us your decision to walk away from the corporate world into the journey that you are now on.
Well, once again, thank you for having me, Paula, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I love that you can sit outside the skyline while we are on this journey.
With no snow at the time of this particular taping.
Hey, hallelujah. You know, I worked for, I don't want to mention the name, but I worked for the Big Red X. And many will be able to figure that out. And I enjoyed my time there. When I first started working there, I was in a associate position, and maybe a week or so after being there, they said, "Wow, you really could have come in as a manager, but now that you're here, you got to go through the process." And that's life in and of itself. Many times, as you talk about, you have gifts and talents and skill sets that you bring to the table, and those that are already sitting at the table may not necessarily recognize and know the gifts that you have. And then when they do, great. But now you got to go through the process. And so I went through the process. I worked there for about 8 months, and then I found myself sitting before a panel of senior level managers who were to make the decision whether or not I was to be a manager. And thank God I made that decision to step out, and thank God that they accepted me and they saw the talents that I brought. So it was a journey because I jumped in and certainly enjoyed it. I enjoyed because I enjoy working with people. um, I've really just enjoyed the job because I had several accounts, several very large accounts. My book of business when I first started out, $6 million that I was in control of. And then I had eight direct reports. However, as things went on, um, they kept having actions. You would either have a VRIF, which is a voluntary reduction in force, or you would have an IRIF. If they didn't get enough people that volunteered to be reduced, then they would have an IRIF, which was an involuntary reduction in force. And as a manager, I had to have that conversation a lot of times with my people. I had to give them a paper box and say, clean out your desk, you know. And when you're invested in your people and their family, their significant other, whether or not they just purchased a house or car, you don't want to have that conversation with them. But unfortunately, in corporate America, they if they can't impact the bottom line any other way, the easiest and quickest way is to reduce people. So after some time, that wore on me, and I knew it was time to move on. You know, Paula, you and I shared how you got to discern the seasons and the times that God moves in. And I'm not talking, summer, winter, spring, or fall. God has a different seasonal calendar, and we have to be astute and we have to discern when he moves, when he shifts, and shift and move with him. If not, you'll be left behind. If not, you'll have something that was successful in a previous season that uh, uh, won't hit the mark in the new season that God is moving in. So you have to pay attention. And I knew it was time for me to leave, you know. And I said to my wife, I think if there's going to be a action coming up with the company, if the package is decent, I'm going to take it. And she said, I think you should, which was, all the permission that I needed to move on to that next phase. So I took the action. I qualified with the age, I qualified with my tenure, and I took it. And people were like, Greg, you took the package? You're leaving? I said, yes, And the crazy thing was I had no idea what I was going to do next. I was 52 years old. And I knew that my life, my working life, my giving life was not over, but I had no idea what I was going to do next. So I remember very vividly sharing on my social media and saying, with my eyes closed shut and my faith wide open, I go on this journey, of the unknown. And I had no idea, Paul, what I was going to do next, but I knew it was time. I knew that season was over. And, I have a personal motto that I say, and I've been saying it for the longest, and that is everything I have done up to this point has prepared me for this point.
And
You
it's
know,
interesting. It's
we
interesting.
go, yes, we
Yeah,
go through a lot of different changes, good, bad, and ugly, but everything that you do up to this point in your life prepares you for this point.
So two things I heard. One was listening. You knew it was time, and I translate that as listening to that still small voice, and then taking that leap of true faith. You know, I know this phrase, leap and the net will appear. Taking that leap of true faith, having no idea what the next step was, where you were going to go. And I love that phrase that you have, that everything I've done up to this point has prepared me for this point. So now you're at that point of taking that leap, not having any idea of what you're going to do. Tell us about that journey and how that manifested into where you are today.
You want the truth or you want the
Truth.
well, the truth was I sat around the house for a year, and when you come out of a situation like I did, being there for a long period of time, a number of years, you have to kind of debrief, you know. So I sat around the house for about a year, and my new assignment in the house was honey-do list. And it didn't take me long to say, this is not the reason I retired. So, being a veteran of radio, um, I listen to radio all the time. And so, one of my favorite things to listen to is sports talk radio because I'm a sports junkie. And there's a gentleman by the name of Greg Clarkston who had a program called The Casting Call on Sports Talk Radio. And he would talk about all the different movies and TV shows and productions that were being filmed here in the metro Atlanta area. I had no idea, you know? And so he gave um, his website, said, go to my website and I'll tell you how you can get into this industry. Sure, I'm not doing anything else. So I went to his website, and what he did was he listed a lot of the casting companies in the city that cast for background actors. Some people say extras. I hate that phrase, extra. I say background actors. And so I went to his website, and so I started following these casting companies, and I submitted for one. I said, let me just go ahead and submit. And 30 minutes later, Paula, I got an email saying, you're booked. And I was like, wow, is that easy? Is that simple? And I worked on a TV show called The Originals, and I got my feet wet. I was excited. I saw how much fun it was. I saw all the moving pieces that go into making a TV show or a movie. And I was like, I was intrigued by it. I said, man, this is cool. This is much better than a honey-do list. And I can get paid. So I just journeyed on and started just exploring all the different TV shows and movies, the casting companies, and things like that that were happening right here in my backyard. And I started working, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, sometimes 5 days a week. My family back in Detroit was like, "Man, Greg, did you know you were going to do this?" I had no idea. But in Psalms 37, it talks about the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and it says, though he fall, which means though he fall, I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna fall several times. But the cool part about that scripture, it says, though he falls, he will not be utterly destroyed. That's just going to be for a short while, because it says the Lord upholds him with his hand. So God had me all the time. Even the times I tripped and slipped and bumped my head, he still had me right there because my steps were ordered. And even when I stepped outside of that ordered path, he quickly and very lovingly brushed me back into the journey, Paula journey, where I was supposed to go. So this was not a coincidence. It was not a happenstance. This is the path that has been ordered for me.
Wow, that is so huge. That is so huge. So you made this transition and you are on this path that you had no idea of these opportunities, and you're engulfed in it, you've embraced it, you've become very professional at it, and now you are at the point of just really flourishing in this, and you have a group, the Colorful Backgrounds. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, Colorful Backgrounders
Yours, yes.
um, is a group that I started out of a need that I had for myself. Um, I'll give you a front story. My dad was somebody who was known for getting people jobs. People would come to him all the time, and whether it was church members or neighbors or whatever it is, and Mr. Lockett, I need a job. And the first thing he would say, "Are you serious? Because I'm not going to put myself out there and then you go and mess it up for me, mess up my name. So if you're serious, I'll find something that you can do and tell you about it." And so people, when he passed away, there were so many people that stood up and talked about how Mr. Lockett got them their first job. So Colorful Backgrounders is a group, it's an empowerment group for African American actors who are serious, like my dad said, "Are you serious?" Who are serious about making their mark in this acting game. And whether you want to do background, which is fine if you want to just stick with background, or you want to eventually get into a position where you can have be a day player with speaking roles, or even work behind the camera in other capacities. I was once looking online for casting calls that fit me, that looked like me, that were casting for somebody, African American, and I was seeing casting for Caucasian American, casting for Hispanic American, casting for Asian, But this particular day, I didn't see any casting calls that was looking for somebody that looked like me. So I was getting frustrated, and then, that aha moment happened, that light bulb went off. And I said, if I'm frustrated trying to find jobs that look like me, then there are other people out there that are equally as frustrated. So why not create a one-stop page on Facebook where people who are serious and want to really have a career in this industry can go and they can find the casting calls, they can find actor information, they can find information about workshops and seminars and acting classes, and just anything that we can share with our brothers and sisters that would help them along the journey, because it's not about just one person. And I said, if I'm already looking for these items to advance and to grow my career in this industry, why not share it? So I created Colorful Backgrounders. I had maybe 4 or 5 friends at the time. I said, I'm going to add you to this group that I just created. And now the group, 8 years later, we are slightly over 1,400 members in the group, and we share information. We support each other. We cheer each other on, and it's really been an incredible journey with this group.
Wow. And you are really such a wonderful example of the theme of this show, of juggling this journey called life while walking in the gifts and talents that God has given us, because you're still a pastor and you have obligations in that area. You're a husband, you're a father, you have these other entities and these other things that all of us juggle each and every day, yet you are still walking in the gifts. You are still walking in the talents that God has given you. Share with our audience a word of encouragement. Our time always goes so quickly, but I want you to share with our audience a word of encouragement, and also any advice that you may have, as well as how the audience can stay connected with you.
Well, before I forget, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be with you on this Saturday morning, Paula. Uh, I was just reading last week from Lamentations, the third chapter, the 22nd through the 26th verse, and I won't go through the whole thing because I don't even have it in front of me. But it says, uh, "Because of the Lord's compassions, we are not consumed." And I'll just leave it right there. God is so compassionate towards us. You know, he says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. You know, he said, behold, I have loved you with an everlasting love. And then he even says, with loving kindness have I drawn thee. You know, so let's unpeel that for a minute. You know, he loves us so much, you know, and he continues, not just one time, you know, but he continues to draw us into his presence with loving kindness. You know, sometimes we forget the assignment, you know, and when we want people to be close to us, we want to beat them over the head, you know, or we want to say negative things. You don't understand. You should understand. This is what you should do. No, God doesn't do us like that. He draws us, continues to draw us in with loving kindness. He loves us. He's kind towards us. His compassion towards us fails not. It never fails. It never ceases. I say often that God never takes a day off. The word says he never sleeps nor slumbers. You know, he doesn't get a 15-minute break. You know, he doesn't take a 60-minute lunch break. You know, he doesn't use any of his PTO. You know, he is always constant with us. You know, he always gives us that loving kindness and those tender mercies. And it is because of his compassion towards us, you know, that fails
Greg,
not.
I want you to make sure, and I'm so sorry we're running out of time, but I want you to share how the
You
audience
knew
can
I
stay
was a preacher.
connected. I want you to share how the audience can stay connected with you.
I am Greg Lockett, 56 on Instagram. I am Greg Lockett 1 on Twitter, and I am simply Greg Lockett 1 on Facebook.
Thank
And
you.
you'll see this gray beard and this hairless head.
And we love it. We love it. Thank you so much for being with us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being with us. And remember that the greatest conversation you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What are you speaking to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? And are you listening to his still small voice? Until next time, embrace the journey.
Music.